Well, congratulations, you made it through another one. Obviously, I've shaved a little bit since we were last together. My students tell me I should hang on to the scruff, though, so I think I'll keep that for at least a little while. But it is warming up here, so the timing was right. Spring has officially arrived, and in Wisconsin, what that means for us is that we're actually seeing temperatures in the low 40s. So I don't know what that means where you come from, but up here, that's beach-going weather. But anyway, this section goes hand in hand with the last section, right? The fossils that we talked about in the fossil record are embedded in the rock layers of the geologic record. And you can see these layers anywhere for yourself, any place that there's a big enough gash in the landscape. Grand Canyon would be the most obvious example. And if you've ever been to Grand Canyon, one of the things you probably noticed is how all these layers are very easy to see. A lot of them have completely different colors. Another thing that you probably noticed, though, is that each of these layers are extremely flat. Well, if these layers are really separated by millions of years, like any brochure at the park will tell you, then they shouldn't be that way. You know, erosion is a very powerful force. How often do we hear about fires and floods and hurricanes and tornadoes and sometimes even volcanoes ripping up the old and carving new landscapes? I mean, just imagine what this erosion would do to a surface over 1,000,000 years. I mean, over that period of time, even a mildly consistent rainfall would have a huge impact. These layers should be anything other than flat, and yet here they are, stacked like pancakes. Of course, that's exactly what we would expect to see if they were laid down very quickly, one after another, during Noah's flood. Now, the mere mention of the biblical flood perhaps being true would make any secular scientist giggle to themselves, and they can make fun of it if they want, but it makes perfect sense of the data that's right in front of us. And not just from a physical perspective, but a historical one too. You know, it's been very popular for a long time to say that the Old Testament writers got the idea of Noah's flood from the Epic of Gilgamesh over in Babylon. And it's like, okay, you know, if a worldwide flood is just fiction, then why are there legends of one in ancient Persia and Peru and China and Native America, and Aboriginal Australia, and isolated islands like Hawaii and Fiji? Over 300 ancient cultures have some sort of catastrophic flood event as part of their traditions. Folks, obviously a vast majority of these people never interacted with each other. So what makes more sense here? That they all just happen to have made up the same pretend flood story? Or that they all point back to the same real historical event? You know, it's kind of interesting. In the same way that these ancient cultures left us records of dinosaur-like creatures, they also left us records of a worldwide flood. So, in the end, from these last two sections, what I really want to have you grab hold of, if I can be serious again for a little bit, as serious as I can be in a Hawaiian shirt, right? What I really want you to take away from these two sections is that regardless of whether you're trying to make sense of the physical evidence that we see across the world, or from the historical records that we've gathered from cultures across the globe, they all match up eerily well with a straightforward reading of Scripture. And that shouldn't surprise us. The truth has a way of coming out, even if the world doesn't want to listen.